My name is Patty Garrett, and I have been married to my husband Rob for almost 31 years this month, and we have 4 daughters and 2 granddaughters and a grandson on the way. Raising Shelby. Shelby was my number 2, born 21 months after my oldest daughter, Chelsea, and she came out just eager to live life. She started walking at 9 months old. She started talking in sentences at 18 months. She was just the joy of our life. She never met a stranger. She loved everybody she came into contact with. She was just a born leader and just had a fire to live life to its fullest. So once Shelby graduated from high school, she had had a rough senior year in high school with friends. And then once she graduated from high school, she had an opportunity to go to a couple of different colleges. And she just made the decision to stay home and go to Valencia. And we supported that decision. She got a great job. She was serving at a restaurant on International Drive, and things just started changing a little bit with her. She was already 18, so there wasn't a whole lot we could do as her parents, being that she was 18, but she was living at home, so we had good boundaries as having an adult child in your home. But she just started hanging out with some friends that she never let us meet. She was staying out more, not coming home. Just some little things that were honestly frustrating. We never, or at least I never, thought anything bad was going on. I just thought she was, living life to the fullest and just making some bad choices. So at that time, all we did was try and keep our boundaries and keep the communication open as best as we could. She came to us and said that she was going to move out and move in with this girlfriend. So she moved out, she told us she was going to move out and start living with this girl that she'd been hanging out with at work, whom we had still never met. We were devastated because we knew she wasn't ready for that. Financially, she wasn't ready. Maturity-wise, she wasn't ready. Emotionally, we knew she wasn't ready. But she was Shelby, and she was, confident in herself and said, "I've got this, Mom and Dad. I'm fine. I'm staying in school and working." And that's when we discovered, after looking at her grades online, that she had stopped attending classes and actually wasn't even going to the classes anymore. And when we confronted her about it, she just kind of blew it off like, "It's not a big deal. I'm going to take it next semester." And, for the first several months when she was still living at this house, that's when she met this guy, whom we didn't find out about for still a couple of months. He was a little bit older than her, she told us. And we thought she was staying at this house in Orlando, and that's when we discovered, by losing communication with her, that she wasn't in Orlando anymore. And there was a season that we started seeing signs. Her laptop, she sold her laptop. We found out she sold her car, which I had the title to, and it was in my name. So we couldn't figure out, at one time she couldn't get home because she had sold her car. And there was just all these signs that we knew she was in a bad place, but we just thought it was her choices. We never thought that what we now know was happening. We had no idea. Lack of education, lack of knowledge. As a mom, you can't even imagine that for your little girl when you've raised her to be confident and to have that. But knowing what I know now, it's just, it makes me sad, but I'm excited that she's had this story to tell, to share with others. There were many nights that after the girls went to sleep, we'd have somebody come over and sit with them. And there was twice that Rob and I went together. My husband and I went over to Cocoa Beach and drove around till 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, just looking for some signs of where she might be. Driving into clubs and just areas, bad areas. And I know I went twice with him because we had the other girls at home, but Rob spent endless nights just driving. If he couldn't sleep, he would get up and just drive around over there, and sometimes I wouldn't even know it till the next morning. He would say, I went over to Cocoa again yesterday with no signs. And the nights of being over there and not knowing were, I can honestly say, some of the hardest nights of our lives. My husband and I didn't know how to communicate through this. We didn't know. It was just the mixed feelings of, I've lost my little girl, to wanting to come across her and just shake her and go, what have you done? Why are you making these choices? Not realizing that the situation she was in was something that she couldn't get out of. The night that Shelby decided to come home, she actually called her dad. So I wasn't a part of the phone conversation, but I know that when he hung up, he just looked at me and said, Shelby's coming home, I'm going to get her. And I was speechless. I was afraid to tell her sisters because we weren't sure. And of course, the mom and me was like, is she okay? Why? What happened? And he's like, I don't have the answer. She's just called. She says she's ready to come home. I'm going to get her. And so coming back into the home was a little bit difficult at first. The transition was hard for us because it was a different environment for her. We had to search through her stuff. And found needles and things that we didn't want to find. And she was ready to get rid of them, and she had actually been off stuff for a while from what she had said. But, we had a home with other girls in it. So, and again, we didn't know what she had lived through. So we didn't think the counseling route. I'll never forget, I think she came home in January, and it was her February 19th is her birthday. And her and I went out to lunch and had a lunch together. It was just her and I. And we were at a little cafe, and I just remember looking across the table at her, and she'd gotten some of her weight back on and her color back, and she just looked happy again. I have a picture of her that I still have and keep close by, because that's when I realized I had my girl back, not realizing that years later what we would then have to go through again to uncover and to deal with some of this. But it's been honestly so healing and just amazing for our family as a whole. So what I think I would want to share with parents and grandparents, I have to battle every day, just like I think a lot of moms battle every day with, I'm a good mom. I struggled for a long time in the process of her going through this, that what have I done wrong? Why didn't I? If I'd done something different, would she have stayed? We do that. We beat ourselves up as moms. But even coming back into this journey years later, I still have to struggle almost daily with, it wasn't about me. I did all I could. That this was a choice that she made to start with, and then she got trapped. So I think as parents, we just can't beat ourselves up. We have to do the best we can. And one of the biggest things that has come out for me personally, and now especially that I have grandchildren, I didn't do a good job teaching my girls about their bodies and touching other bodies and sexuality. I wanted to raise them in this secure bubble, this place that nobody could hurt them. And so in our bubble, we didn't talk about that. And that's one thing that I would do completely differently. Hearing the story about Shelby and her cousin, I had no idea because we didn't talk about it. And Shelby and I have had that conversation of, why didn't you tell me? Why, it's something that I would have, the communication with girls starting at as young age as possible, to teach them as much as you can about this so they're aware and so that they can speak up for themselves. These girls need to know what is okay and what is not okay. Teaching them even little things, speaking up for themselves. Like I was a bit controlling in the sense that I just wanted to do things great for my girls, and even letting them as young girls order their own dinners at restaurants, or it just gives them a voice for themselves. And as grandparents, do the best that you can to just, communicate that to your children as well. And I think part of it is, in our generation, it wasn't talked about as much, and it is now. But the stuff was going on, and we had no idea. So it's not, to me, sex trafficking was always that girl in the van that was stolen. I never knew what I know now, that it's happening, like people say it's happening in your backyard. It happened in my home, and I had no idea. So education is huge. I'm extremely grateful for Mary and Harbor Hope and what they've done to bring this out into the open, because it's been healing for our family. It's been healing for my daughter to watch her now raise her beautiful daughter, and to have a happy marriage. She's on the worship team at our church, and just that God's using her story. I'm extremely grateful for Harbor Hope and Mary, and for the way that they're just getting the word out in the community and educating and providing help that is needed for this.